Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we are back with a Jhin updated complete guide, of course, for the latest patch. And as you guys know, Jhin is my favorite champion, so I'm really excited to get into this one. But before we do, don't forget to check out Jin's basic guide. I'll put him in the cards above right now for his skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, as well as a couple of combos. But without further ado, let's jump straight into the loadout. So Jhin is one of those unique ADCs that doesn't go for Gluttonous Greaves. Of course, we just taken a look at Twitch, who goes for the Berserker Greaves. Of course, the standard is the Gluttonous Greaves, but with Jhin, we actually have the Boots of Dynamism. Now, you could go for the Gluttonous Greaves with Jhin, perfectly fine with that, but one of the things about Jhin is Jhin kind of just wants to one-shot people, and what better way to do that than going for Lethality Boots to give you 30 AD and 10 Armor Pen, most importantly. And then with that same Armor Pen theme, we're going to move on to our first item, the Collector, which gives you another 10 Armor Pen, but also gives you 40 AD and crit, as well as, of course, the lovely Collector passive, which everybody loves. Personally, the Collector passive not very useful in Jhin, but it is very handy for giving you both crit as well as Armor Pen on the same item. And then the next two items, you can kind of swap around the order, but I personally think the best second item is actually going to be IE. Now, that's really early for IE, giving you 60 AD as well as bonus crit damage. However, you have to take into account that Jin's fall shot always crits. So the reason why you go for early IE on Jhin is because you can always get that crit and therefore benefit from the Infinity passive. And then you can go for the Blaster as a next item. Gives you attack speed, which will be converted into AD from Jin's passive. But most importantly, you get the bonus range. And with Jhin, this is very important, because obviously getting this bonus range, getting off an extra auto attack, Jin's auto attacks hit like a truck. So this is going to get you a lot of extra free damage in the form of poke. But it's also going to proc Jin's passive, which of course gives you movement speed when you crit. So at this point, you're at 75% crit. So by attacking someone, you will of course generally get the movement speed and then allowing you to catch up to them, or you can just auto them into W, right? And then of course, more reminder for the Armor Pen as well as the Grievous Wounds. Last item is flexible. You normally want to go for a defensive option, so Maw is my default because it gives you 55 AD, and if you're against a little bit of magic damage, it's going to come in real handy. For the runes, Fleet Footwork, of course, for the movement speed as well as the healing. Of course, the 100% attack speed will be converted into AD for Jhin. And for the minor runes, we do have a couple options, right? So here you have Brutal as a default, but the issue with Brutal is that with Jhin, you auto-attack so slowly that you don't really proc Brutal very often, right? And with Gathering Storm, which is other people's option, right? Let's take a look at what the top players are building. Brutal, Gathering Storm. The issue with Gathering Storm is unless the game lasts for very long, if not, you're going to get very negligible AD as well. So I guess kind of a third option would be just to go for Triumph. But again, with Triumph, you got to get Takedown. So kind of all three options are very conditional, very situational. So it's really pick your poison on which one you think is the best for you and your circumstance or your preference. And then you of course have Giant Slayer to deal with the tanks. Here I like to go for Bloodline for the additional healing, since we have no healing at all in our build. But you can see the top players actually like to go, actually it's all three options here. Like, I've seen Alacrity being a very common option because they like to convert the attack speed into AD. I think the conversion is not worth it, and I think that the healing is just better. And then we have Bone Plating, of course, for the defensive capabilities. And for the summoner spells, you're gonna go for Flash, Cleanse if you need it, otherwise Ghost is gonna be an amazing option. Of course, Barrier and Exhaust are options as well. But if you guys want to know more about ADC summoner spell picks, I'm gonna put a video up in the cards above right now, which focuses on a guide for ADC summoner spells. But with all that out of the way, now let's move on to talking about our gameplay. Okay, now let's jump into our gameplay itself. But before we do, of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Of course, I'll be sure to drop a like or reply. So, we're jumping straight into the game here. A little bit of anti-synergy with myself and my support. Now, we were picking at the same time, and my support basically didn't pick anything, and it just auto-locked Soraka for him. I'm guessing that Soraka is his most played champion, so he probably just wanted to play that, and then it auto-locked. But the issue with that is that I couldn't really see who my support was, right? So Jhin normally likes to play with engagers, way better with engagers, because you can follow up on the engage with your W. You can, of course, just get free damage off when someone engages for you. And with Enchantress, Jhin is fine, but it's not really the best, right? You definitely don't want to be playing Jhin with something like a Yuumi, something like a Lulu. I guess Milu is kind of fine, but not the best. I mean, Yuumi's also fine, but not the best because you can't really proc Yuumi's heals. But it's sort of like the Yuumi Ezreal combo where you can kind of help Yuumi get past the laning phase, and then Yuumi can attach onto someone else. But you're normally not a good attach target for Yuumi in general. So just a little bit of a heads up. This is going to be a pretty boring early game. Right, you're going to see that currently we are playing very aggressive. As we all know, Jhin is a very aggressive laner. You can see we're actually chunking the Seraphine tremendously, and the level 1, level 2 trait is actually kind of amazing. We've chunked out both Seraphine as well as Vayne, but they're pretty much going to learn their lesson very soon, and they're going to kind of stop running at us and taking free poke like what they're kind of doing here. If I landed that, I think there is a chance that Seraphine dies because I had my 4th shot ready. But yeah, my point is kind of that there's not a lot gonna happen because after all they're gonna play a bit less aggressive, and then it's just gonna be a boring fun fest all the way until like I don't know, deep into the game. Like by deep into the game I mean like somewhere in mid game, then it starts to get exciting again. So in the meantime, I'm just gonna be sharing with you guys, of course, more about Jhin. So as I mentioned, Jhin generally likes to play with an engager, although Enchantress can sort of work. With Soraka, it's also sort of fine because Jhin does get into aggressive traits, right? So Soraka can kind of heal him back up, which is why you see in lane I'm playing very, very aggressively. Now, what a lot of people don't really realize with Soraka is that as long as she has mana, which in this case she doesn't, but as long as she has mana, she basically is a walking fountain, right? She can heal you up and give you health, right? So what this means is in lane, when you're playing with a Soraka, you should be playing aggressively. And by aggressively, I mean that you should be taking trades with the enemies in order to lose health, as in trade health with them, so their health goes down, your health goes down. But when your health goes down, Soraka can heal you back up to full. Whereas when their health goes down, they're either gonna have to prop the fruit or they're gonna have to recall, and they're gonna be at a disadvantage compared to you simply because they don't have a Soraka, right? So that's kind of how you want to play with a Soraka. That's why I'm playing hyper aggressive. Unlike how I normally play, that's how you want to be playing with a Soraka. So now talking about Jhin by himself, I think Jhin is in kind of an okay spot in the meta. He's sort of like middle of the pack ADC, and by that I kind of mean that he is not a OP pick for sure, right? But he's not a weak pick at the same time. He's just decent, right? He's just middle of the pack, decent ADC, decent blind pick as well, right? Which is why I couldn't really see my support, so I just decided to pick Jhin. I mean, it's not exactly blind pick, right? Because I could see the enemy Vayne, right? So I didn't know who I'm laning against. So in that sense, it's not really a blind pick because I do know my lane opponent. Although I didn't know the support at the time, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, what I'm trying to say here is that Jhin is just a very decent pick. Kind of works well with most supports and works well against most enemies, right? Like if we're playing against hyper carries, it's sort of okay. If you're playing against those picks like like the Ezreals, the Samiras, or the Kallistas, those kind of non-hyper carry picks, it sort of works as well. So basically what I'm trying to say is that Jhin is always is a decent pick in almost every game. Of course, in some games it's a way better Jhin game than others, but in general Jhin kind of works with and against, not against, but with basically any team comp. Now let's talk about the against, right? So Jhin, as we all know, he builds lethality at the beginning, right? He just builds pure damage, right? So Jhin, what Jhin really wants is he wants to play against a squishy team, right? So Jhin kind of sucks into those pure tank champions, and by pure tank champions I mean champions that for example build Heartsteel and become very tanky, right? So as long as there's no Heartsteel, Jhin can kind of deal with the champion if the tank is not too fed, right? So in this match you have semi-tanky champions like bruisers, like Darius and like Camille. Jhin can deal with them so long as they're not giga fed and they're like one whole item ahead with a lot of health and armor kind of situation. But against champions like, for example, Mundo or Set that build Heartsteel, Jhin has a little bit of a tough time kind of dealing with them, simply because he does damage, but he's not very good at shredding tanks, right? That's sort of the job of a hyper carry or like a specialized tank shredder like Varus, for example. But Jhin is not very good at dealing with a very, very solid front line. And that kind of makes Jhin bad to play against those kind of champions, but simply because as the Jhin, you are going to be in a situation where you can't deal with the front line. If you can't deal with the front line, you can't really get to the back line very easily, right? So that's kind of the bad Jhin games, but in this game, as I said, there's no pure tank. You have 3 squishies plus 2 fighters. You can kind of deal with it. So we're going to see that, of course, later on. And for now, as I kind of mentioned or alluded to earlier, this is not a very exciting game, right? You can see we're kind of 6 minutes in and basically nothing has happened, right? We have traded relatively aggressively throughout the laning phase, but in terms of real fighting and stuff, we had a little bit of fights, but no one has died. The whole bot lane is 0, 0, and 0, both myself and Soraka, as well as Vayne and Seraphine. All of us have the same KDA, and no one really has the advantage. Although I do realize Vayne is not really the best Vayne, because she's not very good at using Condemn, right? There's been once that I stepped close to a wall and she didn't condemn me, and also Soraka stepped close to the wall more than once and she was also not condemned. So any good Vayne player will always be looking for a condemn when someone goes out of position, if not to get a kill, just to at least get a good trade, right? But this Vayne has not really condemned anybody successfully like 7 minutes into the game. So not really the best Vayne player, doesn't really trade autos, doesn't go for any short trades, doesn't do the tumble auto for free kind of thing, so not really the best Vayne player, but doing her job of not dying very well. You can see Vayne is still 0, 0, and 0, and we are going to get outscaled by this Vayne if the game goes long enough and we are not getting fed ourselves, right? So we're definitely, even though the Vayne's not playing the best, she's not playing horribly, right? She's not dying, so that's great for Vayne, right? So here we are just trying to trade aggressively once again. I mean, Soraka's full mana, and when that's the case, we want to take aggressive trades so that Soraka can just heal us up, and you know, we're going to be all good. So since we're playing aggressive, we always want to keep the river warded, and we always want to put our traps in the river to ensure that if the jungler comes, we can see the jungler, and the jungler gets slowed by our traps and thwarts his gank. So here we're getting constant shove. We're just going to get a little bit of like free tower damage while Vayne is not in the lane. Darius is over the wall, hooking the Nautilus in. Now Vayne is going in on us, and Soraka pops the heal. Charm hits onto us, we go unstoppable. And you can see we're almost dying here. Soraka pops the ulti. We're going to have to pop the plant. And this is a full-on fight, one of the first ones we had in the game. Now here, I'm blasting. Seraphine walked back into the ult for some reason, as does the Vayne. And almost dies, but doesn't quite. Now Darius is behind us this entire time. And he has killed the Nautilus. And now the Syndra has come over for the roam. Eventually, we are able to finish the kill onto the Darius while Syndra's spells are down. So she couldn't pick up the kill anyways. We're able to pick up 1 kill at long last. Both Seraphine and Vayne are able to escape with their lives at low HP, and we end up picking up double buffs from the Darius, which is really, really significant. Now Vayne, very greedy here, doesn't back at all, and you can see that from that kill and also just from the constant poking and bullying of the Vayne, we now have a 1k gold lead on the Vayne. Even if you take a look at before that kill happened, we already had a decent lead against the Vayne, right? I didn't really point it out, but we did always have a decent lead against the Vayne just because of our aggressive playstyle and just, you know, zoning her, not really zoning her off minions, but kind of taking aggressive trades so she can't really farm comfortably, and she probably missed CS here and there. Now Vayne and Seraphine are looking to roam mid apparently. So here you can see I'm danger pinging to make sure my team knows that they're coming, and in the meanwhile I'm using all my spells to push the wave. Jhin pushes wave very, very quickly. So here, while they're making a play mid and taking our mid tower, we're going to trade it for the bot tower. And of course the mid tower is more valuable, but you know, at least we get the goal from the bot tower. The dragon is going to be coming up pretty soon, and I'm actually very, very close to IE, which is really unfortunate because I was trying to get IE before the dragon fight, but it looks like I'm not going to make it because even if I get the IE goal now, by the time I recall and walk back to the dragon, it's going to be too late. So I don't really want to do that, as in I don't really want to recall for the IE because if not, my team will be left alone. Nautilus is already in the area to contest. However, Syndra and Rumble are trying to make a play on Camille on the other side of the map. So the dragon hasn't been started yet because we can see it from the skull vision. So instead I'm just going to insta-clear the wave, run over to the dragon and see what can be done. So Vayne is now clearing the wave as well since we pushed in her wave. And here we're just trying to get into a position that we can hit. So here we're free hitting onto the Darius over the wall. And we're trying to get into a position where we can hit Darius again. Darius smites for the health. Nautilus smites for the health as well. And eventually we are able to secure the dragon. Vayne is trying to run down the Syndra, but doesn't manage to do so. Ends up dying. Seraphine's 1 HP. We're gonna flash over. 4-shot her for the kill. Nautilus flashes as well. A bit of a waste that both of us flashed. Probably only one flash would have been enough to kill him. But of course, neither of us would have known the other would have flashed, right? So both of us tried to make the best play, but we ended up kind of wasting a flash, if you see it in that way. So now at this point, finally we're starting to gain some steam, right? We went from 0-0 and 0, now we're 2-0 and 2, right? So we have 2 kills and 2 assists on the board, starting to get the snowball rolling. You can see now we're 2k up on the Vayne, and more gold than basically anyone on the enemy team. But our Nautilus is 6-1 and 3, right? He's super duper fed. And yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, you can see on the enemy team, it's really only Camille and Darius that are putting in any work at all. Orianna's kind of feeding, and the ball lane is not doing too hot either. Right, so here, I actually initially wanted to help Nautilus, but then the enemy team started to cut off my route to mid lane, so I'm now having to walk top lane so I don't get caught out by them. And then I'm going to walk back to mid lane the safe way to go catch the mid wave. A little bit of an awkward one there, but you know, it's fine. Yeah, here Soraka steals my cannon, and it's not the first time she's done that. She likes to Q the wave, and sometimes she steals minions from me from that Q, which is a little bit annoying. But here we realize the tower is like 30 HP, so I'm just going to walk up and hit the tower. Soraka also kind of randomly uses her silence. Really weird for what appears to be a Soraka main. But anyways, it's fine, you know, she's healing us, you know, it's good, it's all good. Right, Soraka also a lot better with the Lucidity Boots now, getting the CDR as well as, of course, the mana regen, pretty insane. Now Camille pretty much just trying to split push her way to victory. Very respectable strategy, I guess, because there's not a lot she can do when her whole team is kind of feeding. But anyways, we're here to catch the wave. Ensure she doesn't get the bot tower for free. But at the same time, Baron is up, right? So actually I don't need Soraka here. Myself alone is enough to kind of clear the wave, because seeing 2 people in bot, not very great. Right, but the entire enemy team is roaming down to bot, opposite side of Baron. So here we can see Darius, we're just blasting him for free. Rumble ult, pretty horrible. Now we're popping our own ult, just trying to get some chip damage onto the enemies before the start of the fight. The enemy team starts to feel that they're in danger, I guess, and then they just walk away. So no real fight really happening yet. I was really tempted to take the Hex Gate there to catch the top wave, but the issue with that is that my team would kind of get ditched if I do that, so that wouldn't be very good. Syndra have a very nice play. Nautilus into the Nautilus out. Nautilus tries to catch Orianna. I tried to flash forward, but it wasn't really needed. Cleansing the ulti there, probably also not needed. So I think I wasted both my stubborn spells for no reason. Don't think I needed to actually flash there because my team kind of got the kill already. And I don't think I needed to cleanse there because I don't think I was in any danger. So here, once again, I just wanted to clear this bot wave because it's building up. It's going to get a tower if no one stops it. But Soraka just follows me. Now, sometimes I like my support following me because that means I always have someone to help me. But sometimes it's just not very good, right? Because going opposite side of Baron, 2 people showing, it's just a green light for the enemy team to start Baron. Now, thankfully, the enemy team is so behind, they can't actually do Baron because they're like about 5k gold behind. But here you can see they're chasing in very deep onto the tier 2 tower. I'm not sure why, but I'm just going to quickly finish off the Camille, who's like one of the most pet members on the enemy team on par with Darius. Now, Darius and Seraphine have to walk past the tower and tanking the tower to get out. Nautilus coming over the wall, hits the depth charge onto Seraphine. We're going to finish her off. Darius trying to run away. I'm going to root him down with the W, and then we finish him off as well. Really weird that Darius has QSS there. Normally Darius has Proto Belt, but he QSSs the Nautilus CC. Can't QSS my CC though because it's down. And this gives us a free Baron. Or only Ori is up. We saw her on the mid waves, and she's definitely not coming to contest the Baron. So we're gonna get the Baron for free. And now we're at 3 items with the Blaster in our inventory as well. We actually managed to blast her with the Orianna. So I actually tried to get a root on her if she was still there. And now Dragon is up. Now honestly, this Dragon doesn't really matter in a sense that both sides have 1 Dragon, so this is not sold for either team. However, this is an objective bounty for the enemy team, so we're going to deny this bounty. Similarly, you can see bot wave is pushing in. You also want to deny that bot wave, as in deny the bounty from this tower, and at the same time, of course, picking up the bot wave is always going to be a good thing. So here we are trying to hardcore farm for Maul Reminder. We're very close to getting Maul Reminder. I think we're about 200 gold away from Maul Reminder at this point. So you can see I'm hardcore farming. Instead of resetting like my team, I really want to base on Maul Reminder. So I'm just trying to get that last little bit of gold for the Maul Reminder, but I'm not quite there yet. So I'm going to wait for one more wave, and this wave is going to do it. So once again, we have the Soraka just following me around, which, again, as I said, not always the best thing, but especially because I was pinging that I'm just waiting for Maul Reminder goal, but she decides to come over anyway, and here we base on Maul Reminder. We get the 4 full crit items, and now we're ready to rock and roll, ready to do some damage to some enemies. And honestly, it's me and Nautilus competing who has the most gold in the game at this point. Darius, though, is really fat despite being, despite his team kind of feeding. There's the Band of Fantasy proccing on me with the Orianna QW combo. Vayne gets taken out by Nautilus, the full AP Nautilus. Here Orianna gets caught by Syndra. I'm just going to walk up with the long range auto from the Blaster and finish her off with the Collector. And here you can see I'm just doing work onto that tower. We actually get the solo tower goal because Soraka wasn't close enough, which is nice, building towards our next item. And here's Seraphine. So here you can see I root, but here for some reason I thought the auto target ult would go for the Seraphine. But for some reason, the auto-target out-targets the Darius, which is very strange. Because I'm pretty sure I have the auto-target onto lowest health Absolute, which Seraphine definitely has lower health than Darius, right? Or maybe not, because Seraphine has like Ardent Sensor and Fimbulwinter, which give health, right? So maybe Seraphine has more health than Darius. That's messed up. But yeah, anyways, I shouldn't be auto-targeting my ult there. I should just manual aim onto the Seraphine. But yeah, I didn't even realize Darius was on my screen. So anyways, my bad. Missed on a potential kill there if I hit my snipes. But anyways, we're just gonna go back, pick up a Stasis. And the main reason we picked up Stasis instead of QSS, even though there's like a lot of CC to QSS, even though we have Cleanse, is because of Camille. Right? If Camille just goes on me and ults, I'm gonna be in trouble. So I want a Stasis to kind of get myself out of trouble. So here, Elder is coming up in 20 seconds. So this is gonna be a little bit of an awkward situation. Camille is split pushing the other side of the map, which is great for us at the moment because she's really far away from getting anything. So it's probably going to mean she's just not going to be around for Elder. Right, so here I'm trying to find a pick before Elder. I'm popping the ulti, just blasting people down. Seraphine's really low. I managed to guess that she's in that bush and I actually kill her. So now we're like basically 5v like 3, right? But no, the Nautilus, our jungler, is going to the wrong side of the map. He's going to stop Camille. Give Camille the tower and come to the Elder Dragon, my jungler. Just come here to secure the Elder Dragon for me, please. So now it's very awkward. You can see I'm pinging retreat because we don't want to be doing the Elder when Darius is around. Like, Darius is just going to come in, smite it, and then we're going to look like idiots, right? So thankfully now Darius is kind of getting zoned away a little bit, and he's not actually coming in. So now we're actually rushing it, and we are able to get it. Nautilus eventually comes. But yeah, it's kind of too late. Yeah, here we spot Darius, but not a lot I can really do to him. I'm just going to 4-shot him. And here you can see Camille's all the way onto the inhib. So here I was thinking of backing to stop Camille. Then I realized Camille's going to try to run away. So we can actually cut her off instead with Syndra putting pressure on her the other way. So here, we're going to go for the Baron next. I'm putting the trap there because I'm thinking that it's possible Camille comes in from behind. But Camille is still trying to push and Syndra has gave up her position. So now Camille is going for the inhib. And now I can see, I know she's going to go over the wall, so I decide to walk the other way, and she does go over the wall. Nautilus gets the ult off onto her, and I'm just going to flash Q, 4th shot, and get the free kill there. With the Elder Dragon, Q 4th shot is going to be enough to one-shot anybody. I mean, maybe not Darius, but anybody else probably. And yeah, Nautilus gets a pick onto the Orianna, and it's just the bot lane plus Darius left, with us having Elder and Baron. Now we're going to pop the ult, trying to snipe down the Seraphine. Don't quite get her, but we do get the Vayne instead. Darius is now right next to us. We cancel the ult to just one-shot him, and then we're going to end the game right here. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, guys, and goodbye.